So Adobe is now officially in the AI game with their new product, Adobe Firefly. So with all the generative AI tools coming out and all the new kind of web-based interfaces taking advantage of Stable Diffusion, it's no wonder that Adobe were cooking something up as well. I mean, it seems like loads of smaller tools are kind of nipping at their core business. I guess the question is, can Adobe keep up with the pace here? I mean, clearly they've been working on something for a while, but there are already these other specialized tools and models doing things really well. So is Adobe going to stand up to what we're already seeing, or is it too little too late? So in this first example, they mask a lighthouse and then we can generate several variations. We've seen similar things like in Leonardo with Inpainting. Choose a new lighthouse variation, mask another area, and we're going to put an underwater city underneath the lighthouse. So we've seen this before with Inpainting, but having this in Adobe Photoshop or Firefly as it might be, looks pretty exciting. It looks as well like we're building up layers on the right hand side. So that's just something we haven't seen before. So far it looks pretty cool, but how good's that model that it's based on? How good is Firefly? I guess in a way, when I first got into graphic design and digital art, this was how I hoped things might work. This is how I expected Photoshop to work with my naivety. Draw a box, tell the computer what you want, and perhaps it draws it for you. No messing around with clone tools or doing digital image retouching. Just draw a marquee and tell the computer what you want. So this second example is quite exciting. Generate vectors, brushes and textures from a few words or sketches. So one thing we haven't had is the ability to create vectors from just typing, from natural language. At the moment, if you want to use Midjourney to perhaps create a logo, you're locked into that image. You can use things like Inpainting to adjust it, but you can't adjust it like you can a vector logo. So this could be a game-changing way of quickly kind of generating logos and things like that. So what Adobe's banking on here is the fact that we know the tools, and once we've created that initial idea, we can then go into the vector editing tool like Illustrator, and we can then adjust things to suit. So they're very much positioning this as a kind of co-pilot. It's not a tool that's going to kind of take over. You still need their tools, but you can kind of use a prompt to start the idea generation, and then you can kind of take it on from there. So I like in this example how they've used a sketch and then described it with a prompt, and then the AI does the rest. A lot of graphic designers, illustrators, digital artists are rightfully worried about this kind of technology, but in this example, you still need to choose the variant that works best, and you even are encouraged to then use the digital tools to adjust it afterwards. So Adobe are in no way saying that the tool will do everything for you. There's still hope for a human being part of this process. So in this example, we have a video scene of a hut in the field, and we can change it to a winter scene. And yeah, it's not just a static image, it's a scene. So that's really interesting. I wonder if that'll make it into Adobe Premiere. So it looks like here we've got an angle on the social media crowd. Get ready to create unique posters, banners, social posts and more with a simple text prompt. So I guess they're really democratizing design here. Anybody can design with a prompt. And they assume that what you guys want to do with it is create social media banners and thumbnails. So with Firefly, looks like you can add a mood board of images you found and then ask it to make templates. And then of course with the Adobe tools, you can change the typeface to whatever you might prefer. And you can even change the person in the image really quickly. So again, it's how you probably hoped design tools worked when you first encountered them and then found out that they were a lot harder. It does seem like that barrier to entry for design tools has really come down. And again, what does this mean for graphic designers and illustrators? We're going to see a lot more kind of amateurs getting involved. Maybe that's a good thing. At the same time, will people value this kind of design less? And what does that mean for people that practice it? So this is kind of fun, saying in the future, they hope Firefly will do amazing work with 3D. And in this example, you can create style variations of this watch mesh, and it seems to kind of work really flawlessly. You just change the variation and spin up completely different styles of 3D objects. Now there's been quite a bit of fuss over this tool. In this example, we've got the letter N, and you can see 3 different prompts. The letter N made from green and red moss, the letter N made of gold and intricate ornaments, or the letter N made of red particles. And I think it's a pretty cool feature, but at the same time, I'm not really sure of the practical use of this. So here at the bottom of the page are a few things that Adobe are actively working on. One thing they're looking at is paint to pics, and you can see this guy here who has had some kind of crude Microsoft Paint style glasses and sort of hair change added to him, and now he looks like that through the magic of AI. They talk about having a novel approach to paint to pics which learns to predict and adapt what a user wants to draw. So huge implications if you do image retouching. Things have just got a whole lot easier. So a few examples here of the Firefly model. Some of the images look quite Midjourney-esque, so it looks pretty promising. I feel like we unfairly keep comparing to Midjourney, but Midjourney has raised the bar. But then these other tools have got something different to offer. The fact that you can adjust quite nicely in the UI compared with Midjourney, we have to type /settings and then adjust through Discord. So pets reading a book in a magical forest has been entered as a prompt, and 4 examples on the screen. You can see at the bottom that the style has been set to art, so there's a slight style on the model, and you have the ability to refresh. If you don't like the images returned to you, you can continually push that button. So it looks like you can have different content type here. Do you want art, photo, graphic, or none? Set to art in this example, and then from that, different styles. So within popular, we've got digital art, synthwave, palette knife, layered, paper, neon, and chaotic, which sounds fun. So they show an example there of switching to photo. It still looks quite illustrative to me, but you can see the difference between photo and art. And a really quick way of changing the aspect ratio to landscape. Loads of different preset effects that you would expect from Adobe. Quick ways to change the style of the model. So what's really interesting is the styles are applied at the bottom like filters, and you can build up different styles. So you're kind of just adding to your prompt. Rather than writing pets reading a book in a magical forest in an art style with a fantasy style with bioluminescence, we're just kind of building that up using a UI. Interesting to see golden hour, which is something I use in Midjourney prompts, and narrow depth of field added as well. And then of course the ability to download. So that was text to image within Firefly, and it feels a lot like Midjourney but with a UI. So it really is going to come down to how good is the model. I feel like even though Midjourney is a little bit clunky in Discord and you don't have these UI tools to build up the prompt, at the end of the day people are still going to go with what generates the best images. The UIs are really nice to have, but people are still going to go with whatever produces the best result. So have you ever wanted to create really bizarre text effects? An L made of cookies, an E made of tiger fur, a dripping H, a snakeskin G? Well, Adobe's got you covered. So here you can see we've placed down the word yum, and we've added a prompt for melting chocolate. Just like in the art generator, we get given several options which we can refresh. How many different ways can you have a dripping chocolate letter? So we've got the text effect fit. Do you want the dripping chocolate to fit within the bounds of the word you supplied, or can it be loose as if we're seeing here? You can change the typeface and it immediately updates. You can also change the background color. And if you weren't sold with a dripping chocolate, we've got an example of yum made from bread. I'm not really sure about this feature. It seems a very niche specific feature. It's kind of fun. It'd be fun to play around with, but I can't really see how popular this would be. Maybe I'll be wrong, but it's a very niche application. So you can head over to the gallery section, and there's already some great examples here. I mean, if I hadn't been spoilt by Midjourney version 5 recently, I would be really excited about this. I mean, it's kind of what I would expect. It doesn't look bad, but you know, I'm always going to compare it against Midjourney version 5. But there's some really nice styles going on here, and I think building the styles up with the prompts will be quite popular. And I think this really could be the kind of way into more of the mass market for prompting and creating AI generated art. You can see the kind of neon and bioluminescence effects poking through. And again, just like other prompt-based tools, it's down to your creativity. Obviously, hamster riding a tiny bike is a great idea. It definitely feels like it's got a kind of style. It feels very kind of Midjourney version 4. We're seeing the kind of over contrast, digital art, not quite photographic style coming through, which feels kind of appropriate for Adobe. It would be interesting to see some more photorealistic results. There's a few here that look interesting, but it would be great to see more. It's great that the prompts are available here as well, and that users can press try prompt to play around with the same style. So Adobe have teased us with a few extras at the end here. In this example, text to image is used to generate a portrait, and then a tool called extend image is used to imagine what's outside of that image. So AI fills in the blanks, also known as outpainting in other tools. So an image is selected from 4 variants, and then we move over to something called Inpainting. Now you may have seen this in other tools like Leonardo.ai. In this example, the shirt is removed. The prompt will only act on the area that's been removed, and a red jacket is put in its place, which works really nicely. Finally, we got something called Smart Portrait, which allows us to kind of fine tune these facial features here. So smile can be toggled, how open are the eyes. Now these can be great tools for anybody that retouches photography. Now this next tool is 3D to image, and this looks cool. We've got some basic shapes used to create a basic castle image, and then we had a prompt, a castle on a grass hill, and we've got a realistic kind of castle on a hill, just generated from that simple primitive object. And then we can change that to a dessert, and it's the same information in a completely different form. So that's really interesting. So this looks fascinating. Conversational editing. What would you like to create? Dress the dog in a Santa suit, put him in front of a gingerbread house, and the image updates each time. This seems like almost like magic. This will be fascinating to play with. So text to vector images could be really exciting. The ability to generate something from a prompt that's then completely editable in Adobe Illustrator. And you can see the adjusting of the balloon right here. Here are a few things you might have seen in other programs, combining photos, something you can do in Midjourney, add a couple of images in, and it will use them both to create something new. But again, I think it's the ease of use here that's going to really sell this tool. What about using an image's color reference as a prompt? In this example, an image is dropped in, a prompt is used to create a new image, and the color information from that original image persists in the new image. So that's really nice. I think this one's going to be really popular. Do you remember that whole kind of zoom and enhance meme in movies where they would zoom into something infinitely?
It's an enhancement program.
Can you clear that up any?
I don't know. Let's enhance it.
Enhance section A6.
I enhance the detail and...
I think there's enough to enhance. Release it to my screen.
Enhance the reflection in her eye.
Let's run this through video enhancement.
Edgar, can you enhance this?
Hang on.
Well, it feels like we might finally be at a point where zoom and enhance is a reality. In this example, we have a low-res pixelated image, and we can upscale that 2x. And you can see as it runs over, the pixelation is removed, and we have a high-quality image from a low-quality image. So what did you make of Adobe Firefly? Loads of exciting features coming, several we've seen before, but all kind of packaged up in a nice UI, and yeah, the ability to play nicely with other Adobe tools. So if you're already a digital artist or graphic designer, or you work with imagery, it's going to be great that you can kind of combine these tools. I think there's quite a lot to be excited about here, particularly the creation of layered imagery or vector imagery, things that can be manipulated afterwards really easily. Plus you've got the ability to extend those images with outpainting or kind of change areas with Inpainting. So it'll be a lot easier to edit what you've created. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you're interested in AI tools, graphic design or product design, then please consider following Design Prompt, and I'll see you guys on the next one.